Hey guys, it's Will here. As you know, Thursday and Friday there was a drop in the market, and I thought I would show you a way to find some areas, stocks and sectors that actually did well on those 2 days. So that could be a clue or some things that you could potentially trade or put your money into. So if we look at the NASDAQ here, we can see we had this big down candle. There was a gap down, and we're down here below the 8 EMA. And similarly in the SPY, there was two down candles. Russell 2000, similar, and Dow. So all the indices have two down candles, with the first one being pretty big. So when we look at sectors, now I have some inverse, most of these are inverse, but pretty much they're all down, all these individual little sectors. There's one small little ones, but they don't look that great. Gold wasn't really good either, even though it was up. And some of these are actually inverse ETFs. So there's a couple of ways with TC2000 that you could find some areas that might be doing well because they didn't really succumb to the drop. So another thing is interesting is if you want things that aren't going to drop potentially during a crash or whatever you want to call it, or a pullback. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in the future every time, but there's a couple different ways to check this out. So in TC2000, there's this drill down tab, and one of the things is that you have these sectors here. So you can see a couple sectors that have a positive return, and everything else was negative. So if you look at materials, it's not a great looking chart here, but if you look at the in the industry there, coal has a decent, somewhat flat, but you can see there's a green volatility stop. You have this a bit of a candle above the T line here, the 8 EMA, and copper looks pretty good in terms of being in an uptrend. Copper looks really good. Steel looks pretty good. So you have materials here. In the banks, nothing great, but I think regional banks have a little bit of a decent starting of an uptrend here. So there's a few that didn't really succumb to those huge drops. As you notice here, they're both stayed above the 8 EMA here. And that's considering there was quite a big drop in the markets, as I showed you. So another way to get a little more specific with ETFs or stocks that went up the last 2 days that the markets went down, because this only shows the last day, and it doesn't, so it just shows the last day. So in TC2000, there's these formulas that you can use, and I'll show you what I did. So I have this condition. So in TC2000, you create a condition, which is a criteria that you want to use. And there's a formula that you can use. So C is close and O is open. So I wrote a little formula here, and I said when the close of today is greater than the open, so that's Friday. So close is greater than the open. So that means an up candle like this. And then the close from yesterday, the day before, Thursday, is greater than the open on Thursday. So when you put C1, that means the previous day. C2 would be 2 days, stuff like that. So that's the condition. I also have a couple history, price and volume, just to kind of reduce the penny stocks and that. So I say, okay, so now I run this and I use it against the US stock market. And just before I talk about this list here, if you want to get a free trial of this software, or $25 off if you purchase, check out the link in the description below. And I've got the gold membership, and I also subscribe to US real-time data, stock data. So there's also a course you can take on trading and a chat room for candlestick trading, which is kind of what I use to look at indicators in terms of buying and selling. I use the price action and I use candlesticks to determine, entry points and exit points and stuff like that. So here's the list of stocks that have gone up in the last 2 days. And that's important in the sense that we had 2 days of pretty down trends, down candles. And so we want to see what was strong in that midst. And that could be something that you're just holding as part of your portfolio, or things that are actually going to do better as things return. It's not a guarantee, but it's just probabilities of things that didn't really react. So I had shown you in the last section was one of the materials. You can see here materials did really well. And coal in particular was at the top. If we look at this company called Arch, so if we're going to actually buy stocks, it's a bit high from where it broke out here, but you can see it did 6.545%, and that was in a down market yesterday, on Friday, and even on Thursday. It's just continually gone up. So if we start at the top, we have a solar company, Viva Power. No indication of any effect on the from the market pullback at all. So there was a little bit of a sign that financial was doing pretty good. You can see here it's the second best performance on Friday. But you can see here that on Thursday and Friday, there was no indication. This was starting to come up again. There was no indication, of any market issue at all. And it did 15.84%, which is pretty big. This is a conglomerate, which kept going up. It's up 11% on Friday. Apparel store started to come back. Engineering went up. So you can see these have, I'm just spacebar through these stocks. Medical devices, another leisure stock, apparel, leisure, and there's a REIT. So anyways, I just wanted to show you how you can find, if you're seeing a really negative market, you can find stocks by using that formula or something like it, where you just look for, when everything was down, you just try to find things that went up the last couple of days. So it's a pretty simple formula. And it might give you some clues on what will do well when things are dropping. It's not a guarantee. There's reasons that certain things went up and certain things go down at certain points in time. But it's just interesting to see that those stocks and those sectors didn't respond. So you might get a clue when you look through these stocks. Like I said, leisure, a little bit of REITs. There was a solar company, credit services, like that's financial, and regional banks. So there's a few that were really strong amidst this. There's actually quite a few stocks here we can continue to go through, but there's another REIT. So there is a bit of a sector rotation, I think, from NASDAQ into, tech stocks into some of the beat up stocks. So that we'll see if that continues next week. But that's one way you can find things that are doing well in the midst of, and not just for one day, but this could give you, looking for more than one day. So hope that helps, and we'll talk to you guys in the next video.